All right. What it do, baby? I said, what it do, baby? It's your boy CJ Curry. It's the CJ Curry Show. It's presented by PrizePicks. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring the show, my friends. PrizePicks is making daily fantasy sports easy. You pick your favorite stars from your favorite sports. You combine 2, 3, 4, 5, and most recently up to 6 players to win up to 25 times your money in a single day. If you're not playing on PrizePicks yet, I've got a great offer for you, a 100% instant deposit match, meaning your first deposit made on PrizePicks up to $100. It's going to be matched dollar for dollar, making your first entry, your first foray into PrizePicks completely risk-free. Use promo code Curry on your first deposit, or just go down to the description of today's video, slap the link to get started today. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for all the fine folks that are joining me. Got Nolan Carey in the building. He says, locks alert. Listen, I never claimed to have any locks, but yesterday we did pretty good overall. We identified some very good Kevin Durant plays. His full game fantasy score did well. His first half PRA and fantasy score did well. Basically everything except for his points, I think, hit. I want to say everything but his points hit. On top of that, we identified Brook Lopez over 10.5 first half PRA is a good play. We put Nikola Vucevic over his first half PRA with that little entry. So we hit a little 3 for 3. Made some folks some money. Hopefully you guys tailed. Paolo Banchero, you were forever banned. Not forever. Forever's a really long time. But Paolo Banchero, I'm going to have to take the foot off the gas when it comes to playing his props and any Orlando Magic props. I've just had this thing this season where I say stay away from the Orlando Magic, and last night reminded me why I put that rule in place to begin with. So yeah, I'm going to stay away from the Orlando Magic at this point. Anyway, let's run through the rest of the chat real quick. We got Accolade in the building. He says, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, Nolan. Dre Day says, we back at it. What you got for me, CJ? Well, we'll have to dig into it together, my friend. Kind of a smaller NBA slate, but still plenty of games, a healthy amount of games for us to find some good picks and hopefully profit. Accolade also says, introducing the newest member of the Patreon family. Accolade, my man, salute to you. Thank you for joining the Patreon. You shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did. Thank you for supporting what we do here on the channel by being a Patreon member. You've now unlocked access to our exclusive community of like-minded PrizePicks players. All right, we got Discord set up, so make sure you get your Patreon and Discord accounts connected so you get access to all of the private channels in our Discord. Roy's in the building. He says, let's go. New day at the office. Love the energy, Roy. Todd, live for Sundays. Thank you for being here, my friend. Always a good supporter of the channel and what I've been doing here. Aaron Rodgers is here. What's up to you? Fear Shaolin says, good morning, gang. Wishing everybody luck on this Thumbing Through Blues Thursday. Thumbing Through Blues Thursday. I'm guessing he's talking about, for those who aren't hip to the hop, who aren't down with the lingo, I'm guessing he's talking about those, what the kids call blue-face hundreds. Blue-faced hundreds. He wants to thumb through some blue-face hundreds, all right? Thumbing Through Blues Thursday. Well, somebody's got to come up with something, because Thursday is kind of lame, right? What rhymes with Thursday? You got to come up with something catchy. So Fear Shaolin, Thumbing Through Blues Thursday. Let's get some of them blue face hundreds. Blue cheese. Jimmy Green, good morning, beautiful people. Hope everyone had better luck than me. And cash, 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 let's go. Neville's in the building. Wesley Winston, what's up, boss man? Jimmy says, can you do some NFL? I mean, I could do it all. All things through Christ, brother. But today is about the NBA, and that's the way it's going to be. Sorry. No NFL talk, buddy. The Truck 472 says it's a Get This Bread Thursday. Okay, that's another variation of Thumbing Through Blues Thursday. Okay. Everyday Fantasy says, what it do, fam? Patreon is in the building. Shout out to the chef. You flex, I flex back. My guy, Don P, a.k.a. Everyday Fantasy. He's been doing work. Doing some absolute work. Young Lito, Salesman Sexton, I feel you on that, brother. Listen, I was one Colin Sexton point away from hitting a 25x payout. So Colin Sexton, I don't know why they didn't play you the entire fourth quarter. I don't know why they had to take away that bucket that would have put you over the 11.5 point prop, but they did, and they broke my heart in the process. DZD, let's go. We hit yesterday. Love to hear that. Trill Fate's in the building. Shout out to Trill Fate. He's a longtime viewer, longtime supporter of what we're doing here. C-Dale Adams says, what's up, CJ? What's up back to you, brother? Dante Perry, great picks yesterday. Shout out to you, Dante. Rigby, why the F did the timer reset? Hey, calm down, all right? It's called movie magic. I wasn't quite ready to get on here and show this beautiful, pretty face to you guys, all right? Sometimes the timer's got to reset. No limit. What up, money gang? He's flexing. I got to flex back. Gilbert's in the building. King, shout out to you. Pimp Paul, Luka over 99.5 points tonight. That's a lot of points. King Ant says, what's up, CJ? Here like always on my lunch break. Shout out to you. Hopefully you got something good to eat for lunch, my man. Jordan Williams, what's good, baby? What's good? Hunter's in the building. Vooch sold me by the hook on the points. Yeah, it went to overtime and Vucevic just couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done. Osmosis Jones, Paolo is banned. Oh, all right. Paolo, aka Faulo Banchero, can't keep his hands to himself. Mark is in the building. Shout out to Mark. T-Bone, what's up? Osmosis Jones in the building. 559 fishing. Yeah, Banchero ban. I feel you. Strap plays. Bro, get to the picks, please. Hey, Strap, you can leave, brother. Nobody's holding you at gunpoint. Strap plays. If you don't want to be here, walk away. Nobody's forcing you to sit. Go ahead and get your scroll on. Peace out. B Don, shout out to you. Thanks for being here. All right, gang. I owe somebody a free entry from yesterday's show. 2-pick power plays. I've been giving them out every single day. 1 2-pick power play a day. It's a risk-free 2-pick power play for you guys to get some extra promo funds added to your PrizePicks account. So all you have to do to get qualified for this, be a subscriber, slap the like button on the show each day, and then once the replay goes up on YouTube, you go down to the comment section. You comment your favorite pick, your favorite prop of the day, all right? And you're automatically qualified for one of these risk-free 2-pick power plays. So let's pick somebody from yesterday's show. We're going to go to the comment section. I've already got the comments loaded up. Already got them loaded up, so all we got to do now is pick us a winner. So let's do that. All right, 42 unique comments were left on yesterday's show. So appreciate all the commenters out there. 42 unique comments left on yesterday's program. Let's go ahead and pick somebody here. All that's left to do now, hit the start button, and good luck to everybody out there. Hopefully we don't get a duplicate winner. If we do, we will pick another person for show. All right. It's our very own Fear Shaolin. Fear Shaolin is the winner today. He left a comment yesterday. He took DeMar DeRozan over PRA. Shout out to DeMar DeRozan. I think he ended up hitting that PRA quite easily. He also hit his points prop. He took KD over fantasy points. We talked about that one yesterday. That one absolutely smacked. And he took Vucevic over points and rebounds. I don't know if the Vuce points and rebounds hit like we talked about. I think Vucevic fell short on his points, but I do believe he had double-digit rebounds. So I want to say that that was a 3-for-3 comment right there for Fear Shaolin. So Mr. Shaolin, all you got to do at this point, shoot me a DM. You can either DM me on Twitter at Curry the Creator, or my preferred way to receive a DM would be in our Discord. There's a free Discord link down in the description below. Join the Discord. Go ahead and shoot me that DM, Fear Shaolin. I know you're already in our community, so shoot me a DM with your PrizePicks email address so I can get that risk-free 2-pick power play added to your account. Congratulations to Fear Shaolin, our risk-free 2-pick power play winner of the day. All right, my friends. Larry Birdle, let's go and figure out today's mystery player. For those of you who have been watching daily, listen, we've had some real weird players. Dominic Barlow yesterday, tough one, man. Took us all, 7, 8 guesses to get there. Troy Brown, Jared Vanderbilt, Tari Eason. We've had Dwight Powell, Garrett Temple, Boban. Who's it going to be today? What obscure bench riding player are they going to throw at us today? Well, listen, our thumbnail player of the day is LaMelo Ball. So let's do this little exercise here. We'll get our brains warmed up and we'll start talking about some player props. I can tell you today that it is not LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is not our mystery player of the day. It is not a Charlotte Hornet. It is not somebody in the Eastern Conference. Nobody from the Southeast Division. This player's probably not a guard because we're talking about somebody who's taller than LaMelo Ball. LaMelo stands at 6'7". We need somebody taller than 6'7". Not quite sure how old LaMelo is. It says undefined here, but I want to say he's in his low 20s, right? Maybe 22, something like that. Maybe that's a little too old. But his jersey number is number 1, so we're looking for a jersey number higher than 1. So we need to go out west, rather, my friends. Out west. Northwest Division, Pacific Division, Southwest Division. LaMelo Ball is going to be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder today. So why don't we go with an Oklahoma City Thunder player? I'm just going to throw one out there. How about Pokashevsky? Pokashevsky of the Oklahoma City Thunder. It is not Alexej Pokashevsky, but we do get some partial matches and some exact matches here. Poku's going to be out west. He is in the Northwest Division. This player, mystery player, is not in the Northwest Division. He's a forward, is Pokashevsky. So this player is probably a forward or a center. Pokashevsky, 7 feet tall. Our mystery player is exactly 7 feet tall. Pokashevsky's 20 years old. Mystery player is going to be a young fella. We're talking about somebody who's 21, 22 years of age. And Pokashevsky's jersey number is 17, which is too high. So we're looking for a jersey number between like 3 and 15, in that range. 3 and 15. So we got to stay out of the Northwest Division. So I don't want to hear anything about the Nuggets, the Wolves, the Blazers, the Jazz. All right. It's not going to be anybody from there. It's going to be a Pacific Division or Southwest Division player. We got the Mavericks taking on the Rockets. We could go with a Dallas Mavericks guess if you wanted to. I don't know if somebody like Christian Wood would be a good guess. He's taking on his former team tonight in the Houston Rockets. Let's give Christian Wood a try here. Christian Wood's a little too short, but it is a player in the Southwest Division, so we've got him a step closer here. We're looking for somebody 7 feet, Southwest Division. Christian Wood's too old, jersey number too high. But again, we're now looking for someone in the Southwest Division. So we've eliminated the entire Pacific and Northwest divisions here. So we're looking for somebody on the Houston Rockets, Memphis Grizzlies, New Orleans Pelicans, or possibly the San Antonio Spurs. Let's see. Thomas Bryant. That could be a good guess. Alperen Şengün. I want to say that Thomas Bryant's a little bit too old, though, Vippy. I want to say that Thomas Bryant might be a little bit too old. Jabari Smith could be a good guess. Alperen Şengün could be a good guess. Let's go with Şengün because I want to say that he's a little bit taller than Jabari Smith. We're looking for a 7-footer here, right? So let's go with Alperen Şengün. All right. It is not Şengün. Not a Houston Rocket either. This player is not a center. It's going to be a true forward. Somebody who's like a small forward, power forward hybrid, we'll say. But somebody who's taller than 6'11". We're looking for a 7-footer here. Older than 20 years old, but younger than 27 years old. Jersey number on Şengün, 28 is going to be too high. We're looking for somebody with a jersey number between like 3 and 15 in that range. 3 and 15 in that range. Let's see here. We got this little porn bot here. Let me go ahead and eliminate this person. Boom. Got rid of the porn. See if they come back, though. Those porn bots, they can be quite pesky. Let's take a look here. You guys are saying a Spurs player. Another Spur player. Could be another Spur player. What about Hayes? Jackson Hayes from the New Orleans Pelicans. Is that a bad guess? No, it's not. It is not a bad guess. In fact, it is Jackson Hayes. That one was just one I pulled out of left field. It is Jackson Hayes, power forward / center for the New Orleans Pelicans. Guys, I'm sorry, but I spoiled it for everyone. It is Jackson Hayes of New Orleans. He is a center / forward, 7 feet tall, 22 years old, and he's rocking jersey number 10. Shout out to Jackson Hayes, our mystery player today. I don't know if anybody guessed that. Sub-Zero Finish 'em did say Jackson Hayes, but I don't know if that was before I said Jackson Hayes. It could have been. We'll give you credit, though. We'll let you have the credit on that one. All right, gang, let's get into today's NBA slate. Like I said, we got a medium-sized slate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. 6 games. Not too bad, right? Not too shabby. Let's go split screen here. We'll pull PrizePicks out to one side. We'll look at our NBA slate on the left side here. Cleveland at Indiana gets things started on today's NBA slate. We got a 7 p.m. tip-off between two of the more fun teams, I would say, in the Eastern Conference. Both of these teams have winning records. Cleveland 22-13, Indiana barely over the 500 mark at 18-17. Got a nice total of 223.5, just a 5-point spread. I don't know how Cleveland is going to Indiana's going to keep this game competitive without Tyrese Halliburton, but he is currently a game time decision. So guys, keep your eye out on Tyrese Halliburton's injury status. Right now, game time decision. We don't really have any other information outside of the fact that he's just a GTD. We don't know if he's likely, doubtful, etc. But for the Cleveland Cavaliers, nothing really impactful there. They're going to have their same starting five of Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Lamar Stevens, Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland. So if Indiana's without Tyrese Halliburton, I think this game starts to kind of creep into blowout territory, unfortunately. So let's hope, for our sake, that Tyrese Halliburton ends up playing tonight. 7 p.m., we got Oklahoma City and Charlotte. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Charlotte Hornets. We talked about Pokusevski. He's going to be out. So is Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. So they're going to be a little short-handed in their front court. No Jang either. So you're talking about Mike Muscala, the veteran. Muscala starting at the center spot for the Oklahoma City Thunder as they take on the Charlotte Hornets. This one, I think, has the most potential for fireworks tonight. Obviously, you've got SGA, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort for the Oklahoma City Thunder. For the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward holding things down. So I think this one has the potential for some very good over options. It's got a total of 238.5 points. I think that is the highest total game on today's slate. Just a 1-point spread. Dennis Smith Jr. is a game time decision. Kelly Oubre is probably going to sit out. He's a game time decision, but is more doubtful than likely. You got Martin and Richards. Both of those guys already ruled out. So no Kelly Oubre. That is the biggest piece of injury news for Charlotte. They don't expect him to play tonight, but this one could be a fun one. LaMelo, we saw him struggle a little bit in that last game against the Golden State Warriors. Maybe he bounces back tonight. Should be a fun little duel, right, between LaMelo Ball, one of the better point guards in the league, versus SGA, another one of the better point guards. Both of these guys are young, athletic. They got length, right? Both can shoot, score, pass. They could both do it all. It's going to be a fun game. Must-see TV on that one. The Los Angeles Clippers and the Boston Celtics, 7:30 p.m. tip-off, 228 points. Kind of a high total. I'm surprised that the total is so high between these two teams. Both of them very good defensive teams. But nonetheless, we've got a decent total here, creeping up towards 230 total points with a 6-point spread. It's favoring the Boston Celtics. This one's going to be fun. This is actually going to be a really fun, I think a low-key fun game to watch here. Two of the better teams. Both of them look like they're pretty much fully healthy. The only player out between either squad is going to be Danilo Gallinari. He is out. Of course, he tore his ACL in the offseason playing for Team Italy. So shout out to Danilo Gallinari. Your presence is missed. But anyway, Clippers and Celtics, this should be a fun one. Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, Ivica Zubac. Then over on the Boston side, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, having a great year, and Al Horford manning the middle. So this one should be a fun one as well. Moving on to 7:30, we got Memphis at Toronto. Another game that has potential here. Like both of these teams, probably playoff teams, if Toronto can kind of get their act together. They're 15-19 right now. Not what the Raptors were expecting this season. But 228.5 points between these two ball clubs. 3-point spread. It's favoring the Memphis Grizzlies. No Danny Green. So Danny Green, former Toronto Raptor, not going to be playing against his former team tonight. Keep an eye on the Toronto Raptors. We got Fred VanVleet listed as a game time decision. His status is unknown. It's truly up in the air. Not really sure either way if he's going to play or not. Koloko, also game time decision, as is Precious Achiuwa. So we might see the Toronto Raptors a little bit thin in that front court. Pascal Siakam right now is currently projected and slated to start at center against Steven Adams. Then you got Juan Hernan-Gomez would join the starting lineup with Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby. And if Fred VanVleet can't go, not sure if they start Malachi Flynn. Maybe they pull Gary Trent Jr. off the bench and throw him in the starting lineup and let Scotty Barnes run point. But either way, this one's got the makings of a very fun game as well. New York Knicks at the San Antonio Spurs. Knicks and Spurs. 8 p.m. tip-off, 226.5 points with a 5-point spread. Got some very impactful injury news over on the Spurs side. I'm talking about Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, both guys game time decisions, both guys truly up in the air. We're not sure if they're going to play or not. Also joining them, Doug McDermott, game time decision. For the New York Knicks, they're going to be without Obi Toppin. He's been out for a number of games. No surprise there. But RJ Barrett is out. That's obviously a big knock against the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson did not play in the last game, which was against the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Luka putting up that monster. First ever to do it, line of 60 plus points, 20 plus rebounds, and 10 plus assists. A 60-20-10 game never seen in NBA history until Luka Doncic did it against the New York Knicks in overtime. So it'll be interesting to see how the New York Knicks bounce back after getting sort of put on Luka Doncic's highlight reel, right? The Knicks were on the wrong side of history. Let's see if they bounce back tonight. But Jalen Brunson, game time decision, RJ Barrett out. It's going to shake things up. Maybe more usage for a guy like Julius Randle. I think we saw Quentin Grimes have himself a pretty fantastic game against the Dallas Mavericks in that last game. Maybe he looks to run it back tonight. San Antonio, obviously not a very good defensive team, but nice total of 226.5 points with a 5-point spread. We don't have any late night games tonight. What I mean by that is, like, usually we'll have one or two 10 o'clock or 10:30 p.m. Eastern time games. All of the games are set to tip off by 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. The last of these games is the Houston Rockets versus the Dallas Mavericks. We kind of alluded to it earlier. You got Christian Wood, former Houston Rocket, now with the Mavericks. He's been in the starting lineup recently alongside of Dwight Powell, THJ, Spencer Dinwiddie, and of course the man himself, Luka Doncic. Reggie Bullock, game time decision. Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green, Maxi Kleber still out for Dallas, so don't think any of those guys are going to be playing tonight. For the Houston Rockets, Jayshawn Tate is a game-time decision, as is veteran shooting guard Eric Gordon. So Houston got a little bit of limbo there, a little bit of a guessing game. Whether Eric Gordon and or Jayshawn Tate plays tonight remains to be seen, right? But we know Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun, that's kind of been their core four. Total is 225.5. Not a bad total, but the spread is 10.5, meaning they think the Dallas Mavericks are going to beat the brakes off of their in-state Texas rivals, the Houston Rockets. So for me, I'd be looking at this game as a first half only situation here. I don't know that I would be taking too many full game props here between these two teams, because Dallas with Luka Doncic probably going to put a whooping on the Houston Rockets, right? All right, gang. So that's the run through of today's NBA slate. Like I said, it's kind of a medium-sized slate, 6 games. Guys, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not yet. Let's start talking about some picks here. Let's go back to this Cleveland-Indiana game. We know that the Indiana Pacers this season have not been a team who has defended the paint very well. Unfortunately, Miles Turner just, I don't know. At one point, I thought Miles Turner was a respected center, a good defensive-minded center. Maybe he still is. Maybe it's not all his fault. It's probably not all his fault. But the Indiana Pacers, gang, not doing a very good job at defending the middle here. So what does that mean? That means like a guy like maybe Evan Mobley or Jarrett Allen could come into play today. I think either one of those guys make for a fine option. It was just, 2 games ago, where we saw John Collins of the Atlanta Hawks have a pretty big game against the Indiana Pacers. So maybe that bodes well for a guy like Evan Mobley's points at 14.5, right? Because the Indiana Pacers are giving up 24.8 points per game to opposing centers, which is typically Jarrett Allen's role. But out of these two offensively, I think Evan Mobley gets a little bit more work, a little bit more touches. As far as power forward points go, Indiana against power forwards, still not doing a great job. A little bit more stingy against power forwards, but still giving up over 21 points per game to power forwards and 10 rebounds. So they're allowing a double-double to opposing power forwards. So Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, I think would be the first kind of place that I would look. How would you guys play them? Would you take Evan Mobley's points, maybe Jarrett Allen for something like rebounds perhaps? That may not be a bad option. Jarrett Allen's rebounds are set at 9.5. He would need just 10 boards tonight in order for him to clear the over. Again, Indiana giving up over 16.5 rebounds per game to opposing centers. That's the second most boards allowed to centers. this season. So I think both of these bigs for the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be in a good spot. Obviously, you've got the likes of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Both of those guys are probably going to be solid options as well. Just taking a look at the Pacers' backcourt situation. They actually do a decent job at defending the point guard spot, giving up about 22.7 points per game. That sounds like a lot, but then you kind of see where they rank as a team this season. They're closer toward the bottom than they are toward the top. So maybe a tough night for Darius Garland going up against Tyrese Halliburton. We're still waiting to see if Halliburton's in or out. And then at the shooting guard spot, Indiana Pacers have been starting, who? Buddy Hield. Is he really going to check Donovan Mitchell tonight? I don't know. So far this season, though, Indiana's given up the third most points per game to opposing shooting guards. Yeah, I believe I got that right. Yeah, third most points per game to opposing shooting guards at 24.7 points per game. So I'm sure Donovan Mitchell's going to be in his bag, looking to get some buckets tonight. So I think both of those guys are good options. Either Evan Mobley for points, Donovan Mitchell for points could be a good look. You got Jared Allen possibly for some rebounds here tonight against Miles Turner and company. So those are just, some high level first look, first thought, first idea, first glance, first of everything type of plays maybe from the Cleveland Cavaliers side. So those are a few options to consider. What about for the Indiana side? Well, right now we don't have any Pacers up on the board. It looks like they are reluctant to post any Pacers for good reason. Obviously, if Tyrese Halliburton's out, that's really going to shake things up. You'd probably see TJ McConnell step into the starting lineup. Buddy Hield would take on a much higher usage role. So we would have to wait and see, what looks good on the Indiana side. So that's why I'm only talking about Cleveland in this case. And then you could obviously go first half only if you think Tyrese Halliburton sits. Well, then you got some first half only options. A guy like Donovan Mitchell, first half points at 13.5, probably not a terrible look. He hasn't been quite as good. He's only hit once out of his last 5 games, but I think he's already played Indiana once this season. Let me take a look here at Donovan Mitchell real quick. Let's go Donovan Mitchell, first half points versus Pacers logs. We're going to just use StatMuse real quick and look into this. Yeah, so he had 13 against Indiana, 13 points. 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 turnovers. So he didn't have that great of a game against the Pacers in their previous meeting. He fell short on today's first half point prop by 1 point. No rebounds, just 3 assists. So his fantasy score would be 20.5. Let's look at his first half FanDuel points. I don't know if he even cleared that. He did not. So he did not clear his points, did not clear his fantasy score either against Indiana in their first matchup. Maybe he has a better game today. If Tyrese Halliburton's out, I think the matchup gets easier for a guy like Donovan Mitchell. But you may want to be careful taking too many full game props from this game if Tyrese Halliburton is out, if he's ruled out. You may want to go first half only. That's the kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. All right. So clear that. Let's move on to another game here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to use the super chat function in the live chat window. Leave a super chat. It helps support the channel. I'll deep dive into any of the props that you're looking at or interested with questions about or any of that stuff. I'd be happy to help you guys out. OKC and Charlotte. So we talked about that one having the highest total today at 238.5. Let's just quickly look at some of the matchups that maybe we can exploit here. So take a look at the point guard spot. Oklahoma's given up about 24 points per game to opposing point guards, which would obviously bode well for this young man, LaMelo Ball. Again, we saw Ball struggle a little bit in his last game. He still ended up with 21 points, but it did not come easy, right? We know that it took a lot of shots for LaMelo Ball to get there, but without Kelly Oubre, LaMelo Ball's probably going to take on a much larger role. Now, also worth mentioning, the Charlotte Hornets over the course of the entire season, 25.5 points per game allowed to opposing point guards. So SGA sitting at 31.5. We've seen SGA sort of start to, not fall off, but be a little bit more inconsistent, right? He was putting up 30-point games left and right like it was nobody's business. We've seen him in the last 5 games still eclipse 31.5 points. So You've got 27, 28 in there. So he's had some very strong games still at 27, 28 points, but been a little bit less consistent at just 31.5. So you got Charlotte sitting at 25.5 points per game allowed to opposing point guards. Again, that's the 7th most for the season. So I think SGA should definitely be on your radar if he is not yet. His points look good. You could always go points plus assists, but for me, I would probably go just purely points here. What other ones do we have that we're liking here? Josh Giddey's been on a tear as far as rebounding goes. I wish we had a better center here. Oklahoma City and Charlotte, both of these teams are terrible at guarding the opposing centers. Charlotte ranks number 1 in total fantasy points allowed at 61.7 fantasy score per game. But it's a shame that we don't have anybody on the Oklahoma City side. Who do we have? Mike Muscala. We can't really take advantage of this superb matchup here, Oklahoma City versus Charlotte, and vice versa, Charlotte versus OKC. I mean, maybe we look at Mason Plumlee here. Mason Plumlee going up against Mike Muscala today. What do we have for Mason Plumlee outside of his points being at 11? We got Mason Plumlee at 10.5 boards, 1.5 turnovers, 13.5 points and assists. 30.5 fantasy score. That may not be a bad option. Again, the OKC Thunder giving up over 55 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. That is the 6th highest. So Mason Plumlee for fantasy score, perhaps. Been a little up and down seesaw action here over his last 5 games. He's covered in 3 out of 5, so he's hit more than he's missed in his recent games. Just getting you a projection on Mason Plumlee. His fantasy score is sitting at 31.2 on Fantasy Labs, so that puts you over 30.5. So that could be an option, a possible look here. If he ends up matched up against a guy like Mike Muscala, I mean, we talked about OKC's pretty thin in their front court, so I don't know if they have anybody that's really going to impact Mason Plumlee tonight, but that could be another look for you from this game. Again, the highest total game of the night, very close spread at just 1. So you could go Mason Plumlee here. I don't know if I like just the rebounds. 10.5 boards sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot to me for a guy like Mason Plumlee. I'll put it that way. So maybe going fantasy score, he could end up with a block, a steal. Those are worth 3 points apiece. So you could go Mason Plumlee here. We've got ourselves a super chat coming through. Appreciate the super chat. We got Osmosis Jones coming through. He's saying Mason the Juice Plumlee over 2.5 assists. We talked on the phone yesterday. Listen, Osmosis Jones tends to be right about these things. When it comes to Mason Plumlee, I don't know what it is. He's like the Mason Plumlee whisperer. He's liking Mason Plumlee for more than 2.5 assists. Thank you for the super chat. While we're talking Mason Plumlee stats, let's go ahead and talk about his assists. He's not up on the PrizePicks board. So if you're not playing on PrizePicks, maybe you're getting access to Mason Plumlee's assists elsewhere. I know Osmosis Jones does not typically play on PrizePicks, but he's liking Mason Plumlee for more than 2.5 assists. Let's just take a look at it real quick for fun. Since my man went out of his way to leave that fine comment, to leave that super chat, I got to make sure that I'm taking care of my people, right? So Mason Plumlee at 2.5 assists, gang. He is 30 for 35 this season. That's an 86% hit rate. So if you're getting access to Mason Plumlee at 2.5 dimes somewhere, you might want to take it. It's looking really good here. 30 for 35 and 86% hit rate, averaging 3.8 assists per game. He is currently, according to Prop.Stat-Cash here, a minus 135 betting favorite to cover, meaning 3 or more assists. Now, his averages have dropped off. If you look at the season averages, 3.8. Last 10, he's down to 3. Last 5, he's down to 2.6. So things lately have been a little bit more dicey here for Mason Plumlee. But all in all, looking really good at an 86% hit rate, right? 30 for 35. Let's see if he drops more dimes at home or more away. Well, at home, he's 13 for 15 this season at 2.5 assists. That's an 87% hit rate. So 13 out of 15 games, he's had at least 3 assists. He missed in his last game against the Atlanta Hawks. But what I will say is that if you take a look at his game logs here, he does not miss 2 games in a row. He does not miss 2 games in a row. Has not happened yet this season. Usually when he falls to 2, he comes back strong and covers the 2.5 in his next game. So we have not seen him miss this prop 2 games in a row over the course of the season. We have not seen him miss this prop 2 games in a row when he plays at home either. So he missed it in his last home game against the Atlanta Hawks. So tonight seems like he's poised to bounce back once again. So yeah, Mason Plumlee at 2.5 assists. I think you could take a shot and feel okay with Plumlee finding that third assist tonight. Let's just get you a projection. I have him projected for 3 dimes. That's obviously what you need, at least 3 out of Mason Plumlee. And then we talked about the betting favorite, the betting odds here. Minus 135, minus 128, and minus 125 to go over. So for those of us that play on PrizePicks, since we don't have Mason Plumlee's assists, what can we do? Maybe we can combine his assists with something like rebounds, or maybe we can combine it with points. Let's take a look at some of the hit rates for these other points plus assists, rebounds plus assists. Maybe we can go there, since we don't get access to just the assists on PrizePicks today. So his assists overall, 30 for 35, 86% hit rate. What about when we go points plus assists? Points plus assists today is at 13.5. That's just a 57% hit rate. So not quite as sweet as it is with just the assists, obviously. What about rebounds and assists? Rebounds and assists, 15 for 35, just a 43% hit rate. So you're starting to see why PrizePicks probably wouldn't want to give us what looks like a freebie here with Mason Plumlee at just 2.5 assists. I mean, I would even take it at 3 assists. If PrizePicks is watching, can you please give us Mason Plumlee at 3 assists? Put him up at 3. Bump it up if you have to, but give us access to this pick. Don't be scared. All right? Don't be scared to give it to us. PRA, 11 for 35, just a 31% hit rate. So anything that's involving his assists, not as sexy as just the assists as they stand on their own. So out of the ones that we looked at, his points plus assists has the highest hit rate at 57%. So he would need about 14 combined points and assists. Now we talked about the matchup, right? The Oklahoma City Thunder, not a very good team at defending opposing bigs. They are giving up 23.3 points per game to centers this season. So there's a chance that Mason Plumlee scores a few extra points tonight against this undermanned, injured Oklahoma City front court. So you could go there. It wouldn't be the worst decision in the world if you took the points and assists for Mason Plumlee. So let me get you a projection on that while we're mentioning it. His points plus assist projection is 13.7. 13.7, combine the points with the assists, 13.7. He's also a minus 130 betting favorite on DraftKings, minus 135 betting favorite on BetMGM. And he's at 14.5 points plus assists on a site, a reputable sportsbook like FanDuel, meaning we are getting a discount of 1 point in assists here. So we're paying less on PrizePicks. I like paying less. I'm assuming that you guys like paying less as well. We are getting a softer line at just 13.5 points plus assists for Mason Plumlee tonight, going up against a battered, a bruised, a beaten Oklahoma City Thunder front court. So thank you to Osmosis Jones. I appreciate you. I think this looks like a pretty good option here. Again, minus 130, minus 135 betting favorite on the points plus assists for Mason Plumlee. He's a whole point lower on PrizePicks than he is versus a site like FanDuel or another site like PointsBet. So we are getting value, and that's important. Every little point of value that we can get helps. So Mason Plumlee, more than 13.5 points plus assists looks like a decent way to go. It looks like a good option. All right, got some super chats coming through. I got my guy Zenon Bowie leaving a couple of super chats. I appreciate that. He's asking, can you talk about some Toronto Raptors versus Memphis Grizzlies, particularly Steven Adams on his rebounds? All right. Let's see here. Let's get out of this Mason Plumlee chart here. So he's wanting to know about this Raptors versus Memphis Grizzlies situation here. It's going to be a weird matchup. I think it's going to be a very weird matchup. For me, Steven Adams has been a guy that I have typically only played in a first half type of format, a first half scenario. Because if you pay attention to Steven Adams and sort of their rotations, they typically don't play Adams as much in the second half as they do in the first half. So for me, I've been playing more Steven Adams first half only. First half PRA the other night was very good. I think he also hit his first half fantasy score the other night. So that's just an idea. If you're interested in playing Steven Adams against the Raptors, you may want to only play him in a first half only situation, first half only format. But the reason I say it's kind of weird here is because look at the situation for the Toronto Raptors and how Memphis matches up with the Raptors, right? Steven Adams potentially matched up against Pascal Siakam. I kind of think that Memphis goes a little small ball here, that maybe Jaren Jackson Jr. ends up seeing more minutes at the 5, that maybe they bring Brandon Clark in off of the bench to play some power forward alongside of Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, and Ja Morant. I could see Memphis using and utilizing that 5-man lineup a little bit more, and Steven Adams kind of being sort of the odd man out. Toronto's going to be small ball themselves with Siakam potentially starting at center, Hernan Gomez, Barnes, Anunoby, and Fred VanVleet a game time decision. So I'm a little hesitant to take anything full game on Steven Adams, but you're asking about him. So let's look at it a little bit closer here. He's projected for 10 boards tonight. Now, he's got the type of matchup and potential here for 10 rebounds in limited minutes, going up against an undersized, Pascal Siakam potentially. So he's at 10 boards. I'm assuming he was either at 10.5 or 9.5, and PrizePicks has either bumped him up or bumped him down. Let's take a closer look at Steven Adams' rebounds. Appreciate the super chat. And we'll dig into this a little bit further beyond the 5-game sample size that PrizePicks provides us with. So he's at 9.5 boards on props.cash. We've seen Steven Adams cover this in 19 out of 30 games. That means he's had at least 10 rebounds or more in 19 out of 30 games this season, which is a 63% hit rate. Not terrible. He's covered this in 4 straight games after missing it in 5 straight games. So he's kind of turned things around here. Taking a look at his last 10 game charts. 16 against the 76ers, but just 4, 5, 8, 6, and 7 against Miami, OKC, Detroit, Milwaukee, and the Thunder. But he bounced back 10 against Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, 11 against DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns, 14 against Golden State, Kevon Looney, and then 10 more rebounds in a rematch against DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns. So he tends to match up better with some of these. You see the teams where he's hit, right? Philadelphia, obviously, Joel Embiid. 10 against Jokic, he matches up well with Jokic. 11 against Ayton, matches up well with him. Kevon Looney matches up well with Kevon Looney, right? And then 10 again versus DeAndre Ayton and Phoenix. The teams that he did not hit his props, 4 against Miami and Bam Adebayo. 5 against OKC. That one's a little weird. I think he should have probably hit in that one, but if they were starting like Pokashevsky at center, then you could see where that would be like a matchup problem potentially for Adams. 8 against Detroit. I don't know if they were starting Jalen Duren at that point. Could have been Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Stewart, but those guys are a little more young, athletic, more of a fast-paced team, and I think Adams kind of just gets game scripted out sometimes. 6 against Milwaukee. Brook Lopez, maybe they went Bobby Portis. Maybe not the best matchup for Steven Adams against a stretch 5 like Brook Lopez or somebody who can shoot like Bobby Portis and or Giannis. And then 7 again against OKC. Again, OKC typically kind of goes small ball. They play Pokashevsky at center sometimes, but that kind of gives you an idea over the last 10 games, where he's excelled is against other guys who are, good matchups for him. Your Jokic's, your Aytons, your Loonies, your Embiids. When Steven Adams' defense and presence and size is needed, he tends to get more minutes here. And you can kind of see how that's reflected in his game charts here. 30.1 minutes against Jokic, 33.5 minutes against Embiid. So against those tougher centers, he tends to get more minutes. You're not really getting that tonight. He's going up against a guy in Pascal Siakam who's like not even 6'10", 6'8", maybe. So I'm kind of worried about him and his chances of, seeing a whole lot of minutes in a game like tonight. I just think that they go Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark in the front court, Memphis. So you could go there if you wanted to. It's not the worst play. Maybe Adams gets there, but I'm just worried about his minutes. He is at 9.5 rebounds on most sports books. I have him projected for exactly 9.5. He's at 9.5 on most sports books. He's a minus 140, minus 145 betting favorite to go over. At 10.5 rebounds on some books, we're seeing the public bet the under here, meaning they don't think he's going to get 11 boards. So 9.5 on some books, big betting favorite to go over. 10.5 on other books, big betting favorite to go under. So PrizePicks has kind of split the difference. They've given us the in-between line of 10 rebounds. He might end up in a tie, might end up in a push type of situation. But if you didn't want to go full game rebounds on Steven Adams at 10 boards, I couldn't blame you. Like I said, he could be a victim of a poor sort of matchup situation, poor game script sort of situation here. You could go first half only. So let's look at some of Steven Adams' first half only props. You got him at 3.5 points, 2 buckets in the first half, and he's over at 3.5 points. Maybe. I mean, that doesn't seem like it's too daunting of a task. Doesn't seem like something that's too impossible for him to do. Let's take a look here. First half points logs this season. So he's at 3.5. We've seen him hit this in 4 out of his last 5 games. If we go back even further, he's hit with 8.6 points. So he's really hit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of his last 8. He's had at least 4 first half points. If we back this up even further here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 out of his last 13 with at least 4 first half points. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good hit rate. We could take a look at something else like his PRA, which sits at 10.5. We were getting him at 9.5 in his last game against DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns. But let's take a look at his points plus rebounds plus assists using StatMuse. He needs at least 11 PRA. 11 PRA. Now this one's been one that isn't hitting at quite the same hit rates as we saw with the points, but still, more often than not, he's hitting it. So he's missed this in his last 2 games, had 18, 13, 12, 9 missed there, 16 hit, 10 would have fell just short by the hook, 5. So I guess out of these 2, the points would have the higher hit rate. And then you've got fantasy score sitting at 12.5 fantasy. We can also look at that and see how he's done with this number this season. FanDuel points. So you're going to go Steven Adams, 1H for first half. FanDuel points logs this season. So this is how you can use StatMuse to kind of look at something like first half fantasy. First half fantasy needs at least 12.6. How many times has he done it here in recent games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of his last 8. That's not terrible. 7 out of 8 is good. 7 out of 9. Then we've got 8 out of 10. 9 out of 11, 12 out of 14, 13 out of 15. So he's been hitting the first half fantasy at a pretty high clip here. Now, taking a look at Toronto this season in terms of like fantasy points allowed to centers, we can go look at that here. Toronto's given up about 48.6 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. So if we kind of slice that in half, you're looking at about 24 to 25 fantasy points per half allowed to centers. Steven Adams needs about 12.6. So there's definitely a chance here for him to do that. So 48.6 for the season. We can also look at the last 7 games, Toronto Raptors versus opposing centers. Let's see if that number goes up or down. It's actually gone up. So they're giving up more fantasy points in the last 7 games than they have for the season. 53 fantasy points in their last 7 games to opposing centers. So that's more than 26, we'll say, fantasy points per half to opposing centers. Again, this guy needs just 12.6. They're giving up about 26 per half to opposing centers. So definitely an intriguing pick. I think I would go first half only on Steven Adams. You've seen the hit rates, guys, both for the points and for the fantasy points. First half only would be probably my preferred way to play Steven Adams if you're looking to play him at all. One last thing we could do here is kind of get you some projections on Steven Adams and his fantasy score. He's projected for 25.5 fantasy points. If we slice that in half, that's about 12.5 to 13 fantasy points per half that we can expect out of Steven Adams. And like I said, he's more of a first half player than a second half player. So I think the bulk of his fantasy points will come in the first half versus in the second half. So if you wanted to go here, I would say go Steven Adams and either take the points at 3.5 or take the fantasy score at more than 12.5. But both of those would be solid options. For me, I'm going to stay away from the rebounds. They could tie and push at exactly 10 boards. I'm not really interested in playing for a tie or a push. So that's the way I'm going. You guys are really discussing a lot of different props here today. Appreciate all of you guys who are contributing to the conversation. This is all about getting your ideas out, looking at some of these player props, doing some research together. So glad to see that there's a lot of you folks in the community here who are spitting out a lot of different plays. My filler Arc left us a super chat. He says, can you guys recommend a play to pair with Jalen OKC PRA? Super confident about that one. About to drop $100 on it and need a second player. So you're going to risk $100 basically to win 3 times your money on Prize Picks for a 2-pick power play. All right, I'm not mad at that. I think 2 picks and 3 picks, probably a great way to go to help build a bankroll, right? To get your money up. If you want to chase the big paydays, don't expect to win often. I'm talking about the 5-pick, 6-pick flex options. They're great when they hit, but don't expect them to hit every day. Don't expect them to hit very often. Unless you're playing a high volume of them at lower dollar amounts. You could do that too. $5 6-pick flex, $5 5-pick flex. Throw a few of those out there instead of playing, 2-pick powers with higher dollar amounts, or 3-pick flex or 3-pick power with higher dollar amounts. You could go that route. Let's see here. Arnold says, what about Pascal Siakam? Arnold, first of all, thank you so much for the super chat. Again, those super chats really go a long way, man. It really adds up over the long haul. And Arnold's saying Pascal fantasy score. Let's look at Siakam real quick and see what his fantasy score is. It's at 47.5. 47.5. We've seen Siakam on an absolute hot tear here lately. 63 against Philly. Comes back with 75.3 against New York, 51.9 against Cleveland, and then a 58.3 performance. So he's had, 51.9 or more fantasy points in 4 straight games. He's going up against the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Again, if Memphis goes small ball to kind of match up with Siakam, I think you see more Jaren Jackson Jr. versus Siakam than you would Steven Adams against Siakam. And I kind of think that's the way that Memphis rolls, but we'll have to see. So taking a look here over the last 7 games, Memphis Grizzlies, you're thinking about taking Siakam over fantasy points. They're giving up about 50 per game to centers in their last 7 games. If for some reason that Pascal Siakam ends up at the 4 and maybe he does not play center like RotoWire's projecting him to, well, power forwards over the last 7 games have been feasting against the Memphis Grizzlies. About 51 fantasy points per game allowed by the Memphis Grizzlies to opposing power forwards. So either which way you cut it, Grizzlies are giving up quite a few fantasy points over the last 7 games to power forwards and to centers. So Siakam might be able to extend this streak here. Of 47.5 fantasy points. Let's get you a projection and see what Siakam's fantasy score projections looking like. Again, guys, if you're using fantasy projections on some of these sites, like a site like FanDuel, for example, or a site like Fantasy Labs, make sure you're using FanDuel projections. If you're using fantasy projections as kind of a litmus test, make sure that you're using FanDuel's projections. FanDuel scoring, PrizePicks fantasy scoring, exactly the same for NBA. 47.9. We round that up. We call it 48. That's his projected fantasy score today. So pretty tight number at 47.5. But he's got a ceiling of 61.8, meaning you could see him go for as many as 61, 62 fantasy points if things are really clicking for Pascal Siakam tonight. So you kind of got a floor of about 48, a projection of about 48, and a ceiling of about 61 to 62 fantasy points. And then you can use StatMuse. A site like StatMuse will help you with historical matchups. So you can go Pascal Siakam, FanDuel points versus Grizzlies logs. And you can kind of get an idea of, throughout the course of his career, how he's done, how he's performed against Memphis. We've seen him go over 47.5 fantasy points just once in his career. 52 fantasy points on February 8th of 2021. All right, so he's only exceeded 47.5 fantasy points one time in his career. The last time that they played was last season, November 30th, 2021. He ended up with 44.7 fantasy points in that game. So 1 out of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 for 10, 10% hit rate at 47.5 fantasy points. Use that for what you will. Take that for what you will. I've given you the projection. I've given you historical hit rates versus the Memphis Grizzlies. We've talked about the matchup and what could potentially happen with Memphis. They could pull Steven Adams out, start Jaren Jackson at center in the second half. Might see more Brandon Clark getting minutes at the power forward. So there you go. There you go. Don't know about this matchup, Siakam versus Adams. Kind of weird, right? Kind of weird. I just don't think that I'm looking to really go there unless it's Adams first half like we talked about. What else are you guys talking about here? We've got a lot of different things coming through. So Arnold, hopefully that helped you with the Pascal Siakam fantasy question. Talking about my filler arc, looking for a super confident play to go with Jalen Williams. I mean, I know we didn't really it's kind of a first look. I know we didn't really give you a super confident play, but we talked about Mason Plumlee for points and assists. This is kind of a first look type of show stream anyway. Like, you guys are like, where are the locks? Give me the locks. I'm just looking for the locks, bro. I don't have any locks, man. Nothing is a lock until it actually locks and hits. We talked about Luka Doncic versus Houston. He just lit Houston up not that long ago, but with this game being a potential blowout, I mean, he had 50 points against Houston 3 games ago, December 23rd, right before Christmas. So Luka could go for 34 in 3 quarters of play. I mean, knowing him, not impossible. Christian Wood, we talked about him. That's another one of those revenge type of games. He just played Houston on December 23rd, only had 8 points in that game though. So kind of hard to fall in love. Overall though, with this being a smaller slate, I'd probably say you guys might want to go a little lighter tonight. I mean, there's not anything that's really locky to me. We talked about Luka Doncic. Maybe you go first half on Luka. He did have 26 first half PRA against the Rockets back on December 23rd, so that could be a look. He had 18 first half points against the Rockets. So if you want to go Luka, maybe you go Luka first half only. He did not hit his fantasy. First half fantasy was at 30.5. He finished with 30.4. That would have been a brutal way to lose. So maybe go points and or points, rebounds, and assists for Luka first half only against Houston. Again, it just looks like it's going to be one of those games that blows out. Houston going up against a red-hot Luka Doncic. I'm a little worried that things don't stay close. Things don't stay competitive. So, let's see here. Yeah, JS Vocal says there are no locks in basketball, especially this season. I hear you, boss. I hear you. Listen, I put out some what looked like banger type plays. Everything seemed to align. Everything seemed to look good. Then you lock it in, the players play, and shit doesn't go the way that you hoped it does. There are definitely no locks, especially here lately. My filler arc says, what do you think about Grimes? Quentin Grimes over assists. What do you think? Well, we got to wait because we're looking at Jalen Brunson, wondering if he's going to play or not. Jalen Brunson is currently a game time decision. So Jalen Brunson tabbed as questionable for Thursday. He's been dealing with a hip injury. It says Brunson has been the Knicks' go-to option this season in top 30 fantasy value overall, though only top 60 in per game and top 75 in per 36 production. Regardless, his absence would open a hefty workload on the ball again, likely filled primarily by Emmanuel Quickley. Quickley supplied a season-high 15 assists. So you're asking about Quentin Grimes' assists. Quickley had 15 assists without Jalen Brunson on Tuesday. So we're waiting on Brunson news. There are some New York Knicks props up on the board. Quickly sitting at 5 assists today. Again, we had him at 15. He had 15 assists against the Dallas Mavericks, which is absolutely bonkers for a guy like him to just kind of come out of left field with 15 assists. You kind of wonder, is that sustainable? Is that something that he can repeat tonight? Quentin Grimes is at 2.5 assists. We've seen him not with the sky high assist total that Emmanuel Quickley had on Tuesday, but still pretty consistent with 4 dimes against Dallas. He even had 6 against Philadelphia. Saw him with 4 against Golden State. So between these two, I mean, you've got Grimes, who might step into more of an assist role. You've also got Quickley, who might step into more of an assist role. One thing that we can do that kind of helps is looking at NBA.com. And the way that you use NBA.com is you go over to the players under the advanced stats category, players tracking passing, click advanced filters. We want to look at just the New York Knicks, and we want to look at just the last game, which was that game without Jalen Brunson against the Dallas Mavericks, right? So who led the team in potential assists? Well, it was Emmanuel Quickley with 23 potential assists. Now, I'm going to say that this line is probably a little inflated because it did go to overtime. But 23 potential assists, his prop line is set at 5 today. So if Jalen Brunson sits out, and Emmanuel Quickley is even at like half that many potential assists. Let's say he has like 12 potential assists. And his assist prop is sitting at 5. Even a less than 50% conversion rate on 12 potential assists, my guy's still going to have at least 5 or 6 assists. So if he goes like 6 for 12, that's obviously 6 assists on 12 potentials. Or 5 for 12, he's tying 5 assists with that many potential assists. I'm just making up a number, all right? That 12 potential assists. I'm just saying if he had that few of, that big of a drop off from 23 down to 12, he would still have a real shot of at least getting 5 assists tonight. But yeah, 23 potential assists. He led the New York Knicks in that last game in potential assists. Potential assists are like field goal attempts or free throw attempts, right? It's a player's chance or opportunity to record an actual assist. So he turned those 23 potentials into 15 actual assists. Now, another one that I like to look at is passes made. And in terms of who led the team in passes made, without a shadow of a doubt, it was Emmanuel Quickley. My guy passed the ball 102 times. 102 times last game without Jalen Brunson, and RJ Barrett was limited to just 1.6 minutes. So Emmanuel Quickley played over 50 minutes, 50.6 minutes of court time, had over 100 passes made, and ended up with over 20 potential assists. So we got to obviously wait for the Jalen Brunson news. But Emmanuel Quickley, if he can get anywhere close to 23 potential assists again tonight, 5 assists is just way too low. That would just be way too low. Now you asked about Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes had 6 potential assists. Now he's obviously at a lower number at just 2.5 dimes. Grimes, dimes, rhymes. Quentin Grimes though, 6 potential assists without Brunson, and again RJ Barrett only playing 1.6 minutes. He turned those 6 potentials into 4 actual assists. But as far as passes made, 49 passes made versus Quickley at 102 passes made. He played 48.3 minutes. Quickley played 50.6 minutes. So you kind of get an idea of who was on the court more, who made more passes, who had more potential assists. And by far and away, it's Emmanuel Quickley who is just dominating across the board in multiple categories. So, take that for what you will, but that's just another way, another tool that you can add to your tool belt when it comes to researching player props. We got to wait, obviously, for Jalen Brunson news before we make any type of decisions on either one of these guys. But let's see if we've got any prop lines up for either Quentin Grimes and or Emmanuel Quickley. So Quickley, we've got at 5.5 assists out on the books today. He is a betting favorite to go under, talking about minus 130, minus 128, betting favorite to go under 5.5. So that's probably why PrizePicks has marked him down to 5. He's projected for 4.2. Again, I don't know if these projections or these lines are based on Jalen Brunson playing. It kind of seems that way. Kind of seems like they expect Jalen Brunson to suit up tonight. But then you also ask about Quentin Grimes. Grimes is at 2.5 assists on PrizePicks, 2.5 on your sports books. Grimes is projected for 2.4 assists. At 2.5 assists, he is a slight betting favorite on some of these books like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM to go over at 2.5. So out of the two at this moment, without the Jalen Brunson news, let's assume Brunson plays. We've seen Quentin Grimes hit his assist prop with Jalen Brunson. So if Brunson plays, I would probably feel a little bit more confident about Grimes finding at least 3 assists. If Jalen Brunson is out again, then I would hope that Emmanuel Quickley is able to get somewhere close to, double-digit potential assists. And in that case, I could see him getting at least 5 dimes. So if Brunson's out, I would go Quickley. If Brunson's in, I would probably go Grimes. final answer. And again, we're just taking our best guess with the news and the information that we have. So hopefully that helps you out. Like Travis is saying, assists, you rely on 2 players. Tough prop to gauge, guys. Stick with points and rebounds. That's true. You got to have good players around you to kind of finish off those potential assists, right? Like a player can pass it 1,000 times, but if you have a bunch of bums around you who can't shoot or score, then, that's the way it is. Malik, how did my picks go yesterday? They went well overall. It was a profitable day. Didn't have too much out there, but here's how they went for me, since you're asking. Since you want to know, how my picks went yesterday. Brutal beat right here. We had Colin Sexton, who had a bucket challenged and ultimately taken away from him. He kept me from reaching the old coveted 25X. I threw a late night Hail Mary, Jordan Poole over turnovers, Jordan Clarkson under PRA, Draymond Green under PRA, Dante DiVincenzo over PRA, and Nikola Jokic over PRA. So Colin Sexton, that bucket that they took away from him after that play was challenged, ended up being the one that I needed the most. Colin Sexton fell short by 1 point and kept me from a 25X. So that went really well. I went 5 for 6. Wish it would have went 6 for 6. Obviously, going from a 25X payout all the way down to a 2X payout. Brutal swing. But yeah, that one looked pretty good. We had this one that I posted to our Discord, Patreon. DeJounte Murray for more than his first half PRA. Once Trae Young, Trae Young, Clint Capella, and DeAndre Hunter were ruled out. DeJounte Murray over 17.5 first half PRA was a no-brainer. We talked about KD yesterday, going first half only because we thought maybe Atlanta would get blown out. So I took KD over fantasy score in addition to KD over PRA for the first half. And then I went back to Russell Westbrook because he burned me the game before against Orlando. He had 6 first quarter points. In the second quarter, he only shot the ball once, 0 for 1 from the 3-point mark. And so he had 6 points in the first half. He needed 8. I needed one more bucket out of him. He cost me about $300. I said, Russell Westbrook, you owe me from the last game. So I ran it back again, and he ended up getting over 7.5 first half points this time. So had that work out for me. This one was weird. This one would have cashed, but I don't know if you guys kept up with what happened last night. Kristaps Porzingis, he was at 22.5 points, right? At one point, he was actually over 22.5 points. But then somebody somewhere said that Kristaps Porzingis was mistakenly given 2 free throw makes that Rui Hachimura should have earned. So Rui Hachimura was at 28 points. He ended up with 30 points. And then Kristaps Porzingis was at 24 points. He ended up with 22 points. So there was some weird sort of stat correction error that happened there, which you normally do not see with points props. But somehow Kristaps Porzingis was awarded some points that Rui Hachimura earned. I don't know how that happens. And they were free throws. Anyway. Kyle Kuzma had a great hit rate when it came to turnovers in games without Bradley Beal. Of course, he only has 1 turnover. He had a turnover taken away from him. He really had 2, but then they took it away, so he ended up with 1. And then Bobby Portis over rebounds against the Bulls. That's just a free play. This one here, we made this one on the stream yesterday. DeMar DeRozan cleared his PRA. Vucevic by the hook. Brutal and overtime by the hook. And then, of course, Paolo Banchero. Ouchie, wawa. Paolo Banchero's been not that guy lately. You're in timeout, Paolo Banchero. And then we had this one that we made on yesterday's show, which was a 3-pick. Brook Lopez over 10.5 PRA for the first half. Vucevic over 13.5 PRA in the first half. And Kevin Durant over 19.5 PRA in the first half. So that ended up cashing. For those of you who tuned in yesterday and saw this line, hopefully you tailed, hopefully you played it, and hopefully you cashed out with me. So yeah, that was pretty much all I played yesterday. So it ended up being a profitable day. Had a couple of really close but no cigar calls. Like this would have saved me. This little flex play would have hit for a little something instead of a big loss and nothing. This one here, if Vucevic scores 1 more point, we're talking about a 3 out of 4 flex. Instead, we're talking about a loss of 20. So it's a game of inches, my people. It is a game of inches, unfortunately. Yeah, JGL, JLag, I do not know how they mixed up Rui Hachimura and Kristaps Porzingis, man. But it happened. It happened. Somehow they awarded Porzingis a couple of points that should have went to Rui. Yeah, I don't know how you make that mistake, but yeah. Weird. It's rigged. The whole system is rigged. No, I'm kidding. I don't know that. Anyway, are we going to cook up any plays today? Guys, I don't know, man. I don't know that I'm loving a whole lot here. I mean, that Steven Adams first half fantasy, possibly I go there. I mean, what are you guys loving? I don't know that I'm loving anything at this moment. This first look, this is a first look. I don't come on here, locked and loaded with like 6 picks. We're kind of looking at the board together for the first time, but we talked about Adams first half fantasy, maybe against Toronto. If I'm playing Adams, I'm only playing him in the first half in this game, in this matchup. But I mean, that could be one that we kind of throw together for like a first half play. Kiara saying check out Ja Morant's PRA. We got some people who are repping Jalen Williams PRA. Somebody's liking some Kawhi Leonard points. YGG10 liking him. Jalen Williams for rebounds and assists. Okay. Rel was saying that he expects all the games to stay close today. Morris for first half fantasy. Luka turnovers. Kawhi points. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could go, gang. There is definitely a lot of different ways. I mean, we've only got so much time on these streams to cover so many different things, and we're still waiting. There's still news that's pending out there, but these folks who are in the chat, they're throwing out some good little options for you. So let's just look at some projections for some of these guys. So we've seen a couple of people mention Jalen Williams PRA. He is at 19.5 from the looks of things here. And we talked about how the Oklahoma City Thunder are so short-handed in their front court. So Jalen Williams has hit his PRA in 4 straight games with 24, 20, 21, and 27. So you got Jalen Williams at 19.5 on PrizePicks, 19.5 out on the sports books, 20.5 on a couple of other books out there, but at 20.5, slight betting favorite to go under. But he is projected for 20.6 points, rebounds, and assists. So that's not a terrible look. Guys, 4 out of his last 4. OKC is going to be missing at least 3 guys in the center and power forward spot. So I can see why you guys would be on this one. So shout out to the chat for bringing that one up. Luka for first half. Jesse's also liking some Luka turnovers. Where is he at? Is he at like 3 point? Yeah, he's at 3.5. They got some stuff double posted here on PrizePicks. Yeah, looks like all the turnovers are double posted. Anyway, Luka's at 3.5 turnovers going up against Houston. He turned the ball over 7 times against the Rockets the last time they played. So even if he takes a little bit of a step back and has just 4 turnovers, that's still enough to get you over the hump. Let's take a look at Luka Doncic turnovers versus Rockets logs. He's turned the ball over against the Houston Rockets in 4 straight matchups against Houston. So he had 7 in his last game, 5 in the game before that, 4 and 5. The last time he missed this was back on January 23rd, 2021 with just 3 turnovers. But you go back a little bit further, 8, 5. So he's turned the ball over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the last 8 games he's played against Houston. He's hit the over. You can even take this a step further and include just games Luka's played at home versus Houston. Not quite as sweet. So he seems to turn it over a little bit more on the road. So 2 of 5 against Houston at home. And then on the road, he is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7 against Houston in Houston. Much better hit rates when he plays Houston and he plays Houston in Houston. But tonight he's going to be at home in Dallas. So some of the splits information that you can uncover here is quite eye-opening at times. So I don't know if it's as sweet as it looks, guys. Gotta dig a little bit deeper. All right, dig a little bit deeper, a little bit more effort. You uncover some stuff like that. Bane points. I will do you a quick Bane points. Oops. Bane. He's at 17.5. Bane's points. Let's just get you a projection on this real quick. Bane is at 17.5 points on PrizePicks, 17.5 on your sports books. FanDuel, PointsBet, they both have him at 18.5. He is projected for 19.5 points. So Projected to go over. He's a slight betting favorite at this moment at 17.5 points to go over. So there's Desmond Bane. A little bit of info on Bane for you. Malik is saying go under on Ja Morant's points. So you're liking maybe more of a good game for Bane and not as good of a game for Ja Morant. If Fred VanVleet's out, maybe we like Ja Morant a little bit more. What do you think about that? I got him projected for 26.9 points. He is at 25.5 points on the sports book. So they have him a point lower on DraftKings, a point lower on FanDuel, a point lower on BetMGM. So if you're thinking about going Ja Morant points, well, the fact that these lines makers have him at 25.5 means they think he's going to score somewhere between 25 and 26. Both 25 and 26 is less than 26.5. So maybe we think about going under on Ja Morant. But if you want to wait for the Fred VanVleet news, that's not a bad option because he's a big part of what they like to do defensively against opposing point guards. So there you go. Khalil says LaMelo under first half points. I have not looked at any LaMelo first half this season, but let's just take a peek at it. Since you're talking about it, must be something good there, right? LaMelo has not hit his first half points prop in 5 straight games, at least 5 straight games. 3, 11, 11, 10, 7. So he's went under 12.5 first half points. He's definitely more of a second half player. I think that's fair to say. LaMelo, you'll be sweating if you take his full game points because like he'll be coasting through the first half and you're like, dang, he's not even close. But then the second half comes around and LaMelo Ball wakes up in the second half. But first half points logs this season, we could take a look at those real quick so we can get a bigger sample size beyond just the last 5 games. How many times has he gone over 12.5 in the first half? Well, just twice. 1, 2. Had 14 and 19 against Denver and Atlanta in the first half. Outside of that, he has went under 12.5 points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight. 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 11. He has gone under 12.5 first half points. So, yeah, you could fire this one up as an under. Why not? Why not? Maybe he comes out blazing tonight, though. Who knows, right? Anything can happen in this NBA world that we live in. But he is at home tonight. So another thing you could do is look at his home splits, first half only. In 3 first half home games, 3 first half only home games. 1 for 3 this season. 1 for 3 this season at home. So he had 19 on December 16th, 12 and 10 against Detroit and Indiana in those home games. So just 1 for 3, 33% hit rate. So yeah, I would still feel fine about taking the under on LaMelo. DZD says, just fade LaMelo. It will be the day. It will be the day. You could also go LaMelo Ball first half points logs versus Thunder. He has done this once. He has gone for 13 or more first half points against the Thunder once in his career. The last 2 times he's played OKC had just 5 and 3. One of those games was on the road. One of those games was at home. So there you go. Jason Tatum, Tatum free throws, Tatum fantasy score. So those are some Tatum backers out there for you. They're liking some Jason Tatum. Maybe you go with Jason Tatum. Fantasy score sitting at what? 47.5. Whew, that's a big number. 47.5 on the fantasy score, 7.5 on the free throw makes. Got to imagine he's going to be in for kind of a tough matchup tonight, right? Against Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. A lot of quality defenders on those LA Clipper wings. How has Jason Tatum done throughout his career against the Clippers? Let's look. Jason Tatum FanDuel points versus Clippers logs. It's been a little dicey, been a little hit or miss. The last 3 games, he has missed. The 3 games prior to those 3 games, he hit in 3 straight. So he is exactly 50% in his last 6 games. If we go back even further, we're talking 2019, 2018. I don't even think we should go back that far. But if you want to go back even further, he's 3 out of 9 in his career, covering 47.5 fantasy points versus the LA Clippers. So there's that. 3 out of 9. Hasn't covered against them since 2021. Has gone 0 for his last 3 against LA. And you guys are talking about going with the free throw makes. He's at 7.5 free throw makes. He's only covered 7.5 free throw makes once against the Clippers in his career. 9 free throws back on December 8th, 2021. Outside of that, he has stayed under 7.5 free throw makes against the Clippers in all the rest of his games. So again, do not fall for green bars. Look into things like how he's done against a particular team, how he does against a particular team on the road versus at home, etc., etc. You could go down the rabbit hole pretty deep on a lot of these different props. But Jason Tatum, 3 for 9 in his career on that 47.5 fantasy score against the Clippers. 1 for 9, going over 7.5 free throw makes in his career against the Clippers. So there you go. I just present the facts to you guys. All right. I just present them. Let's see here. Jaylen Brown might be the man tonight. That could possibly be a thing. Maybe they take Jason Tatum out of the mix, lock him up. Luka turnovers, we talked about that. We talked about Luka not turning the ball over versus Houston quite as often at home as he is on the road. If this was Luka Doncic versus Houston on the road, different situation, right? He turns it over a lot. I think he's only missed it once. So, Knicks and Spurs, maybe a blowout. Yeah, you don't know about Randall's rebounds. Yeah, I mean, it's a good matchup for Randall. Like we talked about, the Spurs inside, not great. Not great. Slimy Bastard saying that Jarrett Allen's rebounds for him getting 10 boards tonight is a lock. I don't think anything's a lock, especially if Tyrese Halliburton's out. I would say that Jarrett Allen could possibly fall short. Let's look at something real quick. Jarrett Allen rebounds versus the Pacers. Logs. The last time he played Indiana, he had 5 rebounds. 39 minutes of gameplay, 5 rebounds. Like I said, guys, nothing's a lock. 39 minutes of court time. He only managed 5 rebounds against Indiana in their last game. All right. Now, the previous games, 14, 17, 11, 9, and 11. So he's hit the over in 4 out of his last 6 going up against the Indiana Pacers. But we only have 1 game log from this season to go off of, where he had 5 boards in 39 minutes against the Pacers. Call it a lock if you want. If it's that much of a lock, then pull everything that you own out of your bank account and throw it on this prop. Do it. I want you to get rich. But yeah, there is no locks. But Jarrett Allen, 39 minutes, 5 boards. The last time they played Indiana, it was 12-16. So that was 13 days ago. 13 days ago, Jarrett Allen only managed 5 boards. His projected rebounds today are at 9.7. Yes, he's at a 9.5 on the books. 9.5 boards, minus 135, minus 142, minus 130. So the odds are in your favor if you wanted to, like I said, take everything out of your bank account and put it on Jarrett Allen getting at least 10 rebounds tonight. The odds are in your favor for you to multiply your wealth. But I wouldn't recommend you do that, obviously. None of this is financial advice. Entertainment only, people. Entertainment only. But I hear you. Slimy Bastard, I hear you. You've taken them all week. I hear you. Sometimes 7 rebounds, 8 rebounds against Toronto and Milwaukee. Sometimes the locks aren't working, man. And PrizePicks kicks down your door. It takes all your money. Guys, I could look at a lot of things. I appreciate all of you. It is 1:30. 1:30 here on the Eastern time, which, we kind of went into overtime today. I try to keep these around an hour. We went to a little bit longer, 1 hour and 30 minutes roughly. So I'm going to get out of here because your boy's got to go get some lunch. He's got to go get some plays cooked up for those Patreon members out there. I got to put on for the community. I got to put on for everybody in Discord. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Spending the rest of the day doing some player prop research, posting some picks, posting some plays out to Patreon, and just hoping that the basketball gods shine down upon me on this lovely Thursday afternoon. Appreciate everybody. Hopefully you found this information entertaining, informational, educational. Guys, I wanted to remind you that Fear Shaolin was our 2-pick power play winner of the day. So congratulations. Again, shoot me your PrizePicks email address. We'll get you set up with that risk-free 2-pick power play. I'm picking somebody new every day from the comment section. You got to subscribe though. You got to like, and you got to leave a comment on today's comment section. So once I end the stream, you go out to YouTube, you find the replay of the video, leave a comment with your favorite pick of the day, and I will pick somebody from the comment section on tomorrow's show, like I did today for my man Fear Shaolin. So he's going to get a risk-free 2-pick power play on PrizePicks. If he gets both picks right, he wins $100. Totally awesome, baby. Peace.